So
Right.
welcome everyone. We're really happy you're here. My name is Andrea Ostergaard. I am the Director of Partnerships and Events at Mpact. Um, I am joined by Hilary Reeves, our Marketing Communications Director, Kammy Horne, our CEO, Kelly Betteridge, Investment Areas Manager from Oregon Metro and the Portland region, and Mark McLaren, who is the Senior Vice President and Transit Market Sector Director at HGR out of Phoenix. Um, Welcome. This webinar is here to let you all know about our call for speakers, which is now open. And plan to cover the process. We plan to hear from our steering committee members, Kelly and Mark, on what the group is looking for as they review proposals and when they are putting together conference sessions. And we want to have opportunities to have a robust Q&A. So please, while we're going through this, we're going to do a short presentation. Feel free to put questions in the Q&A section, and we will try to get to as many as we can. We want to keep this hopefully to a half an hour, but we can stay on and answer questions as needed. So I'm going to pass it over to Kammy, and she's going to start with a bit of an overview of the organization. So, Kammy.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you to the entire Impact team, and thank you in advance to Kelly and Mark for sharing your time. And thank you all for joining. This is an amazing group. I really appreciate that you're taking the time to learn a little bit about how the call for speakers works at Impact, because it is so different than any other conference, which makes it fun, makes it creative, and it really makes it a great experience for those who attend. So thanks for taking the time. I just give you a little bit of background. Wanted to just remind those and let folks know that we did rebrand in 2022. So this Impact is formerly Railvolution. Last year, we were in Philadelphia and we had an amazingly successful conference. That was actually my first conference in my role, and it was really powerful and it was amazing. And I thank those who shared their stories with me and are helping us to build an even more successful conference in Portland. So we've this will be our 30th conference, our 30th celebration, and back in the place that we began. I want to also let you all know that we did begin around mainly light rail and expanded, to bus and other mobilities all around community, all around land use, all around bringing all of those things together. But now we are also looking at even other more creative ways that cities are evolving using on-demand services, in addition to fixed route transit, innovative land use policy changes, affordable housing solutions, and other ideas that bring communities together to tackle the biggest challenges to affordability, many that fall into the realm of transportation costs. So we convene and support leaders, practitioners, and advocates working on transit, connected mobility options, land use, development, housing. And we're all dedicated to engaging communities to define what's possible and sharing very practical and proven ways to get there. And you'll hear more from our speakers today about that. Now, we also, in addition to the conference, I want to bring up that we also have our Impact Lab program that offers capacity building and leadership developments in communities large and small. You can see more about that on our website and reach out to us if you're looking for more information, as well as our Voices program that Hilary leads, we are out there with webinars, podcasts, and many other ways to get more information out to our community. We're also on social at Impact Mobility, and our website is impactmobility.org, so you can find out much more about those. So I'm going crazy with the slides here. So now I believe I am turning this over to you, Kelly, to talk more about the conference in Portland.
Yes, thank you, Kammy. Good morning and/or afternoon to everyone that is attending. My name is Kelly Betteridge. I work for Metro, which is the MPO for the Portland region, and I'm so excited to say that this year's conference will be in Portland, Oregon, October 26th through the 29th in downtown at the Hilton. It's our pleasure to host the conference and have the opportunity to show you all around this incredible region. This year's host agencies include TriMet, Metro, and the Portland Bureau of Transportation. In case you don't know, our region is nestled in the Willamette Valley, which is less than 2 hours from the mountain and the beach. And that means that you should probably come early and or stay late to explore. It's an incredible place. Hosting this year feels extra special because it is the 30th anniversary of the conference, which started here in Portland. And Portland is very much an evolving, livable city. The city and region are known for innovative approaches to mobility, land use and development, housing, and public participation. And we have a rich legacy of collaboration and a true understanding that we are stronger together. What I often hear from people when they visit for the first time is that the region has a great vibe, which is very down to earth and innovative, creative, inclusive, and we're not afraid to be different. We also have fantastic transit, world-class bicycle network, incredible food, and we have put in an order for great weather during the conference. So fingers crossed on that one. So please spread the word and encourage everyone that you know to attend the conference. It's going to be a great one. All right, we're already at the next slide. So as you know, the call for speakers is open. It closes on the 21st of March. The National Steering Committee plays a really important role in the call for speakers. The National Steering Committee, which I'll refer to as the NSC, because I know you all like acronyms, is made up of a number of really lovely humans that represent agencies and nonprofits and consulting firms. And we have the joy of coming together 3 times a year to work on the content and really curate the sessions for the conference. So our first meeting occurred just last month in Atlanta. It was wonderful. It's both an opportunity to sort of talk through how last year's conference went and also to brainstorm really how we want to approach this year. And so the intention is that we have some topics that we often cover and make some small tweaks to, and then we also have some new topics that are sort of cutting edge that we want to make sure that we are talking about, sort of state of the industry. The steering committee will play a really important role in putting the sessions together because ultimately they end up being sort of the owner or curator of each of the sessions. And want to make sure that each of those are successful and really touch the audience that we are targeting. I am going to hand it over to Mark McLaren to talk a little bit more about the details of the call for speakers.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. So I think the important thing is the comment that Kelly just made about the steering committee being the curator of the sessions that occur during the conference. And that occurs through a collaborative process of the steering committee, which will meet a couple of times, not only in person, but also virtually and over the phone over the next several months once responses are received, to review the many submittals that will come in for the call for speakers, to align those conversations with the various buckets or categories of conversation that are identified in the call for speakers, and also pair persons or panels together to create a conversation that really focuses on the types of things that we like to see ultimately as the outcome of the conference. And when we say the outcome of the conference, where this conference is a little different in the conversation, is we really want to hear success stories. And success isn't always maybe that you accomplished what you set out to accomplish or solve a problem, but that you learned something along the way. And what you learned is something that others can learn from as well. The intent here, we want to hear the good stories, but we also want to hear the messy part of the story. The dirty details of how you really got to solving a problem and the experience that you're looking to share as a part of the conference when you come forward into that conversation. As the steering committee reviews the proposals, we're looking at and we're asking ourselves the questions as it relates to the categories that are on the screen here of really how are you solving funding gaps? What are the examples? How are you solving quality of life issues or access and mobility? And are you building, and if so, how are you building a knowledge and action base? We also are interested in understanding how you're continuing to use transit-oriented development as a tool to build complete and livable communities. And in that context also, in any one or a combination of these topics, do you have great ideas of something that you'd like to share as a part of the Mpact Pechakucha Slam that occurs on the second evening of the conference. Next slide, please. So the real intent of this, as the steering committee goes through and evaluates these and reads the many proposals that are thoughtfully put together and submitted, we really, without being snarky, are kind of asking the question, so what? When we've read through a submittal, we really want to understand that you have a story to tell and a lesson to share, whether it's something that helped you be successful or something that you might do differently the next time to ensure that you are successful. We want to also ask the so what from the perspective that if you're a conference attendee and you're attending other sessions, what are you going to walk out of that session with that's a lesson learned or a growth in your network that you now have the ability to take a skill back to your job or to the community that you work in and put it to use. And so we are interested in the what has happened, what you accomplished, more than the what if. And so that's the so what question that we go through as we evaluate these. And as we look at each of the categories that are on the call for speakers, rather than just simply asking the question of how did you use transit-oriented development to improve a livable community, we're asking, so what? What was the lesson learned? So as you put together a narrative in response to the call for speakers, what's most important is that looking at it through the eyes of a person who's reading it for the first time, when they've read that submittal, can they answer, so what? What are you bringing to the table that's a lesson learned to share for others? And if you can answer that question successfully, that's one of the key parts of having a successful application moving forward. At this point, I believe the link has been dropped into the chat box for those of you who need access to it and want to take a look at it. Again, it provides all the information I think you need to understand the categories, the things that are important topics that we're looking at from applications, moving forward with an eye towards not only having conversations about basics and the fundamentals, but also more advanced conversations as well. And Kelly, as I turn it back to you, I will just in deference to making sure everybody understands the name of the region, say that I'm ready for Willamette, damn it. It's all yours.
Thanks, Mark. Agreed. That is an important thing to get right when talking to locals. Great. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the formats and also use this as an opportunity to really encourage each of you to think about and brainstorm ways to make sessions as interactive as possible. So here on the screen, you can see sort of general formats that are often used at the conference. Most sessions are at either 45 or 90 minutes. If you were to have a 90-minute session, it is expected that a substantial amount of that time would be used for questions and answers to be interactive with the audience. I think one of the things that we hear most often as we debrief conferences is that people really enjoy opportunities for those interactive sessions, and that especially later in the day, panels that are very lengthy are difficult to sit through. And so I think that's just something that we all are focused on as we're thinking about how best to engage our audience. People really like hands-on activities, tools, ways to participate within the audience, being able to ask really thoughtful questions. Sometimes we even are able to sort of solicit questions in advance and use those when we're putting together a presentation. Just to give a couple of examples from last year that I think went over really well, there was a very, I was going to say intense, but I mean it in a good way, a very sort of intense debate about electric vehicles. And I think it was really interesting, and everyone was able to sort of jump in and dig a little bit more deeply into some of those pros and cons from different lenses. There was also a really cool Jeopardy game that was both fun and engaging. And I think folks that attended that really took away great information, but also felt sort of energized and had a good time. So again, it's always sort of on us to make sure that we're being as engaging as possible. And so sort of think about that and know that the NSC will be looking for those innovative ideas as we're going through the various submittals that come in for panels. Next, great. And so Mark explained the so what portion of this. It's absolutely something that we all say and do as we're going through the submittals once we receive them. Another really important thing to think about is sort of cross-sector viewpoints. We are always really excited to have lots of different geographies represented at the conference. And so we do want to go out of our way to make sure that maybe some places that we haven't heard a lot from are able to showcase the work that they're doing as well as different parts of industries and people with different professional backgrounds. So to give a couple examples of this, sometimes we'll get a full proposal that perhaps all of the potential speakers are consultants. Sometimes we'll reach out to that group and say, this is a really cool topic. We want to hear it. Is there any way you could bring someone in from the agency who could also sort of speak to their experience around this specific topic? So again, just wanting to have different lenses. There's also times where there will be a proposal where perhaps you'll have multiple examples within the same state. And sometimes we'll reach out and say, love that idea. Is it possible that you could reach out to peers in other parts of the country to sort of build out your panel and talk about a similar topic, but from a different geography? So again, just always wanting to be thoughtful about who's in the audience and making sure that the content that we're providing really resonates with as many people as possible. Another, I think, really important place to focus and highlight our innovative partnerships and collaboration. For those of you who work in the industry, who are most of you, I'm sure, we know that a lot of what allows us to be successful is building strong partnerships and really understanding how to collaborate across the region, across stakeholders. And so we're always really looking at ways to highlight that. Those are skills that all of us can always grow and sharpen. And so that's an area where we'll want to see some innovative ideas. And then also practical applications to solving problems. And again, I think an example here is, again, as I'm reviewing these, I'm always thinking like, how many people could really benefit from hearing this story? So occasionally we'll get a submittal that's like very, very specific, and it's a super cool topic and I love it. And perhaps it would make like a really good podcast, or maybe even it could be tweaked to be a PK slam, but the actual information is so specific that it probably wouldn't resonate with a large group of people. So if you have something like that, maybe you pair it with a few other topics, or maybe you think about how it's best presented, but just know that as we're reviewing these, we're really thinking about topics that will appeal to as many people in the audience as possible. All right, I think I'm handing it back to Andrea, is that right?
Yes. Thank you, Kelly. Really great. Good information. Thank you for going into that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about preparing your proposal. Hilary's been putting some links into the chat. If you just go to our website, impactmobility.org/speakers, you'll find everything there too. A link to the submittal form, a link to the background information, which reinforces what we're talking about here, and also a worksheet. So the worksheet can be used, it's a Word document. You can use that to gather your answers to your questions, gather your thoughts, get all your information in one place, and then go in and submit it on our proposal form. Couple just things to note: if you are going to fill out a proposal, you can fill it out as a person yourself, so you could submit yourself to speak. You can also submit yourself and some additional speakers. If you do that, please ensure that they can attend in person. You and them can attend in person. And also, there's a limit of up to 3 for that. We also are limiting submissions to 2 per proposer. So you can submit up to 2 topics. And if you are selected, speakers who are invited are expected to pay for the conference to attend the full event, or they can attend the one day that they speak for free. And that schedule will be out in July. Like Mark said and Kelly said, we do curate our sessions to be very thoughtful and intentional, to get stories that really resonate and can be used. So think about that when you're submitting, that it's possible that we might be combining more than one proposal to create the session that we're looking to talk about. And a couple more tech notes. So we have a new system, which is great. It's should be a little easier maybe to get your submission in. I did want to note that after you gather everything, use that worksheet. It will time out if you leave halfway through and you would have to start back over. So just make sure when you're submitting, you go all the way through the process and submit it, even if you want to make changes. You'll get an email that will allow you to go back in and make those changes that you want up until we close on March 21st. So we're not reviewing proposals until after the call for speaker has closed. The call has closed. So you would have a chance to save your progress if you submit, but just make sure you go through the full submit before leaving. Otherwise, use the worksheet, which is a great way to gather your thoughts first. And if you want to add speakers, there's this little spot that says add plus. This is where you add additional speakers. I think it's easily overlooked in this system. And there is another section at the bottom that says add secondary contact. That is not where you add speakers. That would be where you'd potentially add an assistant or someone who wants to receive the communications with you, or with the submitter, I should say. So timeline, March, we're closing the call at March 21st. It's a Friday. We'll close it at midnight or 11:59 Pacific time. And at that point, we will have our steering committee review the proposals. This will sort of be the round one review. We meet in April, like Mark was mentioning, that we will be reviewing all of these. We'll be talking about them. We'll be starting to put together sessions at that point. Then in May and June, we use that time to do some outreach, to talk to prospective speakers, prospective proposers, discuss what sessions we're thinking about, if they would be a good fit. That I would consider round two review. We come back, you can go to the next slide. We come back again in June and meet, and that is when we finalize all our sessions. So that's the last review. We confirm things. Sessions are really finalized and ready to go forward towards, making presentations and meeting with each other for the conference in October. So you will all hear about your proposal by July, and it will likely be able to update people along the way. We'll let some people know after round one if their proposal is going to go forward into the second round of review, and so on until you're invited to be a speaker on a particular session. The conference is October 26th through the 29th. It's going to be just beautiful in Portland, so put it in your calendar now. Now I think we have time for questions. And also if you have questions, my email is right here. Please feel free to reach out, and I'll get the right answers for you if we run out of time here, or if you think of something after the webinar. So I'll invite Hilary. I know you were kind of keeping tabs on some of the questions. If you want
to, if you could stop sharing now or after a moment so we can see everybody. There is one question from Gretchen Newcomb. What is the audience makeup? How technical?
Yeah. I mean, Hilary, do you want to take that one?
I think it's a mix. Every year, the steering committee is asked when putting together their sessions to say whether a particular session is advanced, intermediate, or introductory. Many of them land in the middle at the intermediate level, but perhaps Kelly or Mark, you could speak to how you think about that when you're putting together sessions.
Well, yeah. If I could just add, I think to the point of the so what and hearing the dirty stories, if you will, on how a problem was solved, what we really want to hear from is the practitioners, the people who really were engaged in the day-to-day of making change and being engaged in that work, rather than someone who's there to speak on their behalf. And so to the point of the question, we get a very broad mix of people who are community organizers, who are elected officials, who are technical people who are involved with projects, and it's a broad mix. And that's what makes the conversation and learning the so what so important as a part of this conference, because of the breadth of the voices and the perspectives that come to the conversation at the conference.
There is another question.
And I see a hand up also, Hilary.
I think I've answered that question. It's about the chat not working, but thank you. What's the average audience size? Andrea, do you want to take that one, please?
Yeah, for sessions, it varies. There's a lot of factors that go into it. What type of session, what time of day, what's the topic? Is it kind of a niche topic or is it like a very broad, appealing topic? So it kind of varies, but I would say small sessions tend to be around 15 to 25, and large sessions end up being, maybe 100 to 120, I would say, and they're anywhere in between. So a lot of times it's kind of time of day and then mixed with the sort of what level of topic. Is it very, like the niche topic, or is it widely appealing? I think that's two of the biggest factors.
I will say that some of the smallest attended sessions sometimes have the opportunity for very intense back and forth in conversation. So it is not necessarily a factor of success, the number of people in the room.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Let's see. Do we have any other questions? I'm checking the chat. Is there a variety in room setup for the interactive sessions is a question.
Yeah, there can be. There's a lot of, in the meeting planner world, there's timelines that are not always the most logical in that lots of that stuff has to be determined early. So in this process of submitting your proposal or submitting your ideas, the more information about how it would be facilitated or the room being set up or how you would do that is better. It allows us to plan in advance because a lot of that stuff needs to be determined well before you might expect it when you're just thinking about it. So there is a lot of opportunity for that, and I think we encourage that, but it is something that has to be determined and thought of well in advance. So I'd encourage anybody thinking that way to make sure to try and get some of that information into your proposal.
Great. There is another question of how do you look at panels versus individual presentations? Does the conference aim to limit panels? Kelly or Mark, do you have a jump in on that?
Well, Kelly, I think, addressed that very well in her earlier comments about what the curation of the panels will entail. Every year, there are a number of people who submit a full panel. And if we look at that panel and it's very geographically focused or in terms of a number of people who are from the same location, or it's a number of people who are all of the same background who are speaking on the same subject, we'll oftentimes reach out to the person who submitted on behalf of that panel and have the conversation about what we can do to bring other voices and other perspectives to that conversation to broaden it out. And so that is common. It's submitting a full panel certainly can be helpful if it's been well vetted and it reflects those differences of perspectives. And also if it's something, again, that may be something new that's answers well the so what, but is also a topic that hasn't been discussed in other venues or as parts of other conferences previously. So those are the sorts of things that we're always looking at when we consider those opportunities that come forward as a full panel.
Thank you, Mark.
I don't think there's any real limit. We don't limit it, but we do overall try to stick around. We in the conference have about 50 sessions that get ultimately selected and curated and created.
Okay. We have another question. The question is, we are thinking about putting together a proposal and it fits in multiple tracks. Can we choose multiple tracks or somehow indicate that we are open to making it work within a different track than if we had to only select one?
That seems like an Andrea question.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's always challenging to pick one. Sometimes some of the tracks are intentionally vague so that we can get creative ideas. I would say choose the best one, because some of the work that we do in the National Steering Committee meeting is that we will discuss topics that, perhaps it's being discussed in one track, and we do a lot of trading. So if you put one in a track that you think goes here, and someone else in a different track is looking at that same topic and trying to put together, we'll often say, they'll work together to be able to provide your information to fit the better proposal or fit the better session that is happening in a different work group. So it's a messy project. It's more, massaging the dough than than just sending one. It's not a accepted.
It's kneading.
I wouldn't worry too much about
it's kneading.
Proposal. It's kneading the dough.
Yeah. If you submit in one of the categories and you get a call from somebody representing a different category, that's because the steering committee as a whole has had a conversation and decided that you might be better aligned with that topic. What I would say is, if you think you align with 5 categories, don't make your submittal 5 times.
Yes, please don't do that.
That causes more chaos than it does clarity.
Okay. I'm going to shift over to the chat for a minute. The Q&A. It says, we are just starting on a project and writing scopes of work. Is it worth it to submit this year, or should we wait till the future to apply?
I would encourage you to wait until the future so that you have some more of those sort of so what's. That is definitely something that we debate a lot within our groups. Sometimes there are projects where the actual scoping process is innovative or different, and so that might be a place to highlight. But in general, we tend to select projects that are already complete so that we can understand the process and sort of the impact, the so what. So perhaps it's one to hold on to and highlight at a future conference.
Okay.
And Hilary,
Go ahead.
I'm reading ahead on some of the questions here. The one I just want to make a comment before too many people drop off. I think there's a question about the process on mobile workshops that I'll let you all address. But I did want to highlight the other part of this question from Craig is, are there other ways to get involved in impact, volunteering committees, etc.? And I just want to kind of highlight that. Again, while we still have a few minutes here. Absolutely. If you have questions and you would like to get involved, you can send Andrea an email. Basically, all of our email addresses are our first name, so Kammy H, and then at impactmobility.org, or Andrea O, impactmobility.org. So reach out to us, please, if you are interested. If you're interested in partnership, definitely shoot me a note and we can talk about that as well. Sponsorship, that type of thing. But volunteering in the committees, we're working so hard with our Portland hosts to get all of that set up. We can absolutely share that information with you, as well as the Impact Innovators. Take a look at our website where anyone can get involved in the Impact Innovators, and you can look at that program. It is year round, and it is headed up by Trinity Eck on our team, and we're going to be doing so much more with that this year and at the conference. And there is information on the website and ways to respond. So I will turn back the question on mobile workshops to the team.
That was from Craig. Lost it for a moment, but basically, is there a way to propose for those, or how are they handled? Is there a separate process for mobile workshops?
You want me to take that?
Go ahead. Sure.
Okay. So I have the distinct pleasure of being a co-chair for the mobile workshops in Portland. And so, Craig, you could reach out to me. I'd be happy to hear what you're thinking and plug you in. We are in the process of determining what the mobile workshops will be and assigning leads. So please reach out to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Our intention is to have 25 to 30, and they're going to be great. And as many of you probably know, that is a big highlight of the conference and something that people really look forward to. So yes, I would love to plug your energy into the mobile workshops. Just let me know what you're thinking.
Kelly, if you could put your contact information in the chat, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you. We have a question, Andrea, about the optional video. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Sure. We just wanted to give an opportunity for you to present who you are in a different way. And so I know there's a lot of people who are very comfortable making and providing video. And so it's just, you can take 30 seconds, introduce yourself, you can introduce a topic, you can talk about your proposal, why you're passionate about your project, or anything that you want to let us know, and we're happy and excited to be able to watch them and maybe evaluate things a little differently. I know it's something that people have requested in the past, so I think this year we're just kind of giving it a whirl. It's an optional feature, so again, if you're comfortable and you want to submit a video to a social media or another conference that you've spoken at, or just a little selfie video introducing yourself, like we're happy to receive it.
Let's see. I think on the video too, it was just a chance to hear you speak one-to-one, one-to-many about why you're excited about your topic. So it's not a super formal thing, more of a different format for you to share your enthusiasm.
Right. Yep.
There's a question from Eric Liddell. Is there a healthcare audience present? How hard can we lean into healthcare topics that impact community mobility?
I wanted to jump in on that one because someone was also asking about, very specific topics. And so, yes, on healthcare, yes, on education, yes, on everything, which is really everything in our lives that intersect with transit. And so, others can add to this, but I would say absolutely those ideas, as we've gone through the so what, the stories are really important. So I would say yes, there's an audience, and yes, there's an interest in hearing about that. So if others want to weigh in.
Yeah, we want to hear. We love hearing about that stuff. Those are the stories that I think really resonate with people. So
we had a plenary a few years ago on the health implications of it had some people from, I think, Kaiser Permanente and a foundation focused on the ways that they are thinking about all the issues related to siting hospitals and workforce housing and things like that. So yes, the intersections are always there. There's a question from Dylan. Can you confirm it's not solely transit, but also wider mobility? What is that relationship, the balance between transit and mobility as we look at the conference is my paraphrase of Dylan's question.
Well, I would say yes, it's much more, again, like we're also looking at innovations on demand, but cycling, pedestrian, and I'll ask Mark or Kelly if you want to weigh in. I don't know if we have a certain percentage, but I guess traditionally we also talk about like first and last mile, options. So that's another way to think about those additional types of mobility. So.
No, I think if you read through the descriptions of the various categories that are identified here, you'll find a lot of reference to many forms of mobility and how we kind of, as a steering committee, have connected those dots as it relates to these conversations. But we're always open to new ideas in terms of things that maybe aren't clear from the response that you think are really germane to the topic and the overall intent of the conference.
Great. We have a question about the PK Slam. Can you speak to, do the same frameworks apply? Do you have to be thinking about the solution? Do you have to, are there other criteria for choosing the PK Slam speakers?
great question. If you want to submit to the PK Slam, it is its own, its own little section. That is its own track that you can submit directly to. And I would say probably not. There's a lot of interesting takes that you can make in this industry on different things that are happening. And I know on our YouTube page, we have a lot of examples from previous years of presentations. It is definitely much more of a relaxed and edgy opportunity to talk about different things. Um, our Trinity Eck, our director of emerging leaders, is helping lead that up, and I know that they're always looking for what's the new take, what's the interesting comedic perspective on something, what is profound, and so it's a little bit more along those lines. How can you make your point maybe in a different and fun way in the Pechakucha format? So I would not say that it has to be along the lines of the other tracks.
Great. I will try to, Stan, gather up these questions to present them along with the video. So we'll try that in the chat here. Thanks, everyone. There was a question about a particular kind of proposal. It says, is work to establish the proper organizational structure of a DOT or a transit agency a viable topic as it relates to the delivery of services provided for transit and mobility? What do you think, NSC members?
Well, I think that kind of goes a little bit to the question earlier about a scope of work. If it's an experience you have that you're bringing to the table that you can answer the question, so what? And there's something that people will learn and take from the conference that they can apply in helping them be successful in their roles and the opportunities they have in their community, then I would certainly not discourage submitting a proposal such as that. Because clearly, as any community changes, so too do the organizations of the people who make the community successful and how they deliver projects and affect change. And so if the conversation related to an agency organization is a lesson learned, that is something that you feel is others would benefit from in that conversation, let's talk about it.
There was a question earlier about mobile workshops and exactly what they are. They are available. You can look at last year's mobile workshops on the schedule page. But yes, they are. They go out and about around the region. They typically involve using the different modes to get around. So get there on transit, get there on a bike, get there by walking. And they involve the people involved in a particular project talking about how they got it done. And Kelly, who's leading it up, may have more to say.
You did a great job, Hilary. It's getting out and experiencing in real life what a region has to offer. And so I would say that oftentimes like bike tours are really popular. Also walking. We'll also have some tours that you can just do on your own. But again, it's sort of having an opportunity to get out of the classroom and experience the built environment and learn from practitioners who have some so what to share.
One new message down here. The 4T trail that has come up.
It's on the list, I promise. And the 5T trail teaser there. There's a 5T ad.
Did I miss any questions? I hope not. Certainly has been a good.
If you did, well, we can scan back through, and typically we do a little FAQ alongside this webinar, so we can answer any of those. So I think that's it. If there are more questions, you can feel free to reach out to us directly. We're happy to answer those. Our information's in the chat. Thank you, Kammy. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Hilary, everyone for participating in this. And I hope everyone here found it useful. And I really look forward to seeing those proposals. Remember, March 21st at midnight Pacific time is the deadline.